Building a marriage takes the right material, but these are not materials that can be purchased in a store. These materials have to be matured and cultivated on the inside. The Marriage Material Podcast Show was created to help listeners grow and mature in areas that are important to building and maintaining a healthy marriage and relationships. You are listening to the Marriage Material Podcast Show, and here's your host, Pastor Darius Good.
Thank you for joining us today. This is the podcast show, Marriage Material. My name is Darius Good. I am the pastor of Bible Gospel Center located in Connecticut. This podcast show was developed for relationships, whether you're dating, whether you're engaged, or whether you are married. This platform is to help us build strong, healthy, fulfilling relationships. And that is very important. Make sure you check out my website, dariusgood.com. You'll learn more information there regarding myself as well as this podcast show. And then we have several other podcast shows. We have the Divorced Christian Podcast Show, which is a podcast platform designed for those that have experienced divorce. And so that platform was created to bring strength and to bring understanding to the scriptures. I teach the subject of divorce from a very different angle. I do not teach the popular Christian version because I discovered that there are many inaccuracies in those teachings. And so that platform, I'm telling you, is an excellent platform that'll bring some light, some truth, and some understanding to the subject of divorce. We also have the Good Treasure podcast show where we have our teachings from Sunday morning services as well as our Bible studies. And so check that platform out as well. We have several books that I've written. And so once again, visit my website, dariusgood.com. So on today, we're listening to the podcast show Marriage Material. This is episode number 9, and it's entitled Charisma versus Character. And so let's first define these two words, charisma. So what is charisma? This is a very interesting definition that I found in the dictionary. They define charisma as a personal magic of relationship arousing special, popular loyalty or enthusiasm for a public figure, such as a political leader. And then the second definition is a special magnetic charm or appeal. And so it gives the example of the charisma of a popular actor. And so let's go with our second definition here that deals with that charm, the appeal, that magnetic sort of dynamic a person carries. I've seen people walk into the room and you're kind of drawn to that individual. Something about them stands out. They know how to kind of, quote unquote, work the crowd or work the audience. And when they're done, people like them. They have a warm feeling about them. Sometimes people are drawn to them and now become a fan, so to speak. And understand that word fan actually comes from the idea of the term fanatic. And so we do have people that become, in essence, fanatics as they follow certain people, whether it's a singer, whether it's an actress. But these individuals are people with a lot of charisma. Now, charisma does not mean you have to be loud. And I think sometimes we kind of misdefine some of our definitions. But a loud personality doesn't make you charismatic. And so a person with a lot of charisma could be both loud or quiet, reserved, but they have a very outgoing personality that draws people to themselves. Now, oftentimes we will think of the concept of a person that's an introvert and also one that is an extrovert. So an introvert is a personality characteristic where a person is typically reserved or quiet. Extrovert personality is more or less described as a person that is gregarious and unreserved. They enjoy and seek out social interactions. And so oftentimes what we don't realize is it's a spectrum. You have introvert on one end, extrovert on the other end, and people can fall not in extremes, but somewhere on this line. I've taken tests personality tests, and I learned that I'm very balanced. My personality falls literally right in the middle. I'm both extrovert, I'm both introvert. I have times where I want to be alone and to myself, and there's other times where I am completely fine being around people and engaging them socially. And so oftentimes people lean to one end or the other of that spectrum. And so we tend to connect the extrovert personality to charisma. And so sometimes people are drawn to the big personality. Notice I didn't say loud, but the big personality. We like to use the idea of stars. So we have people that are stars, and we're talking about actresses, politicians, singers, musicians. There's certain personalities that seem to be bigger than others. And so we call these people stars, more or less. In my teachings, I explain that everyone that God created was meant to be a star because there is a glory that God has placed upon man. There's something that each of us can do that others cannot do. We bring a uniqueness to everything that we do. So you might be play an instrument. I can play an instrument, but the way you play is different than how I play. And so I can appreciate listening to you play, and you might appreciate listening to me playing, but we both play the same instrument. And so there's a uniqueness that we bring to our talents and our giftings that should cause us to shine. And that's regardless of our personality. And so you can have an introvert person that really shines because they might be a very creative sculptor or a painter, and I've met a lot of people that like to work alone, but they are so gifted and talented that they shine. And so I'm trying to define these things so that we can compartmentalize them so that we're not getting some of these thoughts confused. People are drawn to the charisma of people. A man like Obama has a lot of charisma, a lot of personality. On the flip side, a man like Donald Trump, a lot of personality. And we like people or dislike people because of their personalities. And what I want to do is kind of draw this line between charisma and character, because oftentimes we're looking at the light. So a star gives off illumination and light. We're drawn to them because of the light. Stars have gravitational pull. And so they will trap planets and they remain in orbit around them because of their gravitational pull. We're drawn to certain stars, certain personalities. But it's important that we recognize all that is a personality, and we're seeing what's being revealed to those that are around them. You're not dating a personality, you're dating a person. And so when it comes to dating or being engaged or married, you're married to a person and not just a personality. And I'm highlighting this because oftentimes we see people in their element. A basketball player on the court, a preacher on a platform, a singer on a stage, and we see them in their element and we're drawn to what they do, but all that is many times is a platform or an occupation. And we got to be very careful that our attraction is not just personality based. A lot of these individuals have one personality in public, but that's not the fullness of who they are. Who they really are is the person behind closed doors. On stage, I could be very dynamic, a lot of personality, and people are drawn to the storytelling. They might be drawn to the talent. If you're a singer, person that tells jokes, they bring entertainment to people's lives. But that's not the true person. That's just a small part of who they are. That's what's seen when they're in the light or on the platform, on the stage. But who are they behind closed doors is most important. And so now this becomes a character issue because they may not be that loud individual or that domineering personality on stage. I've had people confuse my personal personality because who I am as a pastor, pastoring a church on a Sunday morning when I am on the platform, what you see is very different than me as a father. That's very different than what you see as me as a husband. And so you can't tell what my personality will be like in those sort of roles simply by seeing me every Sunday on a platform. It just doesn't work that way. And so people are drawn to charisma, but what we should be drawn to is character. What is character? Character is how they respond in stressful moments. Are they a take charge person when things begin to fall apart? Do they have a plan that they execute that works out for our favor? Are they nervous? And nervous is not a problem, but if it causes them to be unable to act in emergency moments, then these are things that you need to be aware of. Are they a liar? Do they steal? Will they cheat in order to get ahead? Will they burn a person to get ahead? Will they burn a stranger? Or will they even burn a friend or a family member? Now we're talking about character. That's what's most important because that's the person you're going to be committed to and spend the rest of your life with. If you're married, that's the person you are committed to and have made a vow to that you will spend the rest of your life with. And once again, you'll hear me say this over and over, we don't date well. Because we don't date right, we're looking at the wrong things. We're looking at physical compatibility or physical attraction, and then we're looking at charisma, but we're not necessarily digging below the layers to understand character. Character is what you're married to. Who is this person? And true character is never revealed until they're under pressure. People like to say who they are, describe what they are, and this is me, and this is how I'll respond. But I found that that's rarely the case. I often will watch people to hear if their character measures up to what they said. What type of character are we looking for? The scripture says that we have the fruit of the Spirit in us. So if you're saved, dwelling on the inside of us is the fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, kindness, meekness. These are the characteristics that will cause a relationship to thrive and be fulfilling. The scripture says that they're fruit. The tree does not eat fruit. The fruit is for others to eat. The tree grows, it gets life from the sun, from water, nutrients from the soil, but it does not eat fruit. A tree can't survive on fruit. It doesn't eat fruit. But fruit is to be tasted by those people that have contact with you. In this case, your relationship. Your wife tastes your fruit. Your husband tastes your fruit. Is it goodness? Is it merciful? Is it gracious? Is it kind? Is it gentle? because anything opposite of any of these things that I've named now produces a dysfunctional, a disastrous experience that leads people to be broken, heartbroken, emotionally damaged for the rest of their lives. And these are the relationships that we are trying to now change. People with bad character has bad fruit. And if you keep eating bad fruit, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And so it's important that we understand this. Those of you that are dating, don't be fooled by the charisma. That's only one side of them, one side of the person. I know what we like, what we're drawn to, but that's only one side. You need to see the full picture to have an understanding of who this person is. You need to hear other people's stories of them, friends, family, parents. And then sometimes those stories are off. And that also is very important to help you discern who in this individual's life is being honest and telling the truth and which ones are not. Because you're not marrying just a person, but it's a family tree that has come together. If you're already married, identifying these people are equally important, because some people are they just draw chaos. They create chaos wherever they go. So understand their perception may not be accurate of the person that you're dating. But all this is important. In other words, don't date with blind eyes, and don't be married with blind eyes and deaf ears. This is how we end up in these broken situations where our relationships are not fulfilling. Dating and marriage is for maturity. It's for adults. And so thank you for joining us on today. Once again, you're listening to the podcast show, Marriage Material, and this is episode number 9, Charisma versus Character. Please, please, please hit that subscribe button and subscribe to our podcast show. Remember to like, and I appreciate it if you will drop any comments in the comment section. Make sure you visit my website, dariusgood.com. Check out our other podcast shows, as well as the books that we have there on the website. And until next time, be blessed.
You have been listening to the Marriage Material Podcast Show with your host, Darius Good. This was a Good Treasure Ministries production. Darius is a senior pastor of Bible Gospel Center and the author of the book, Soul Ties. To learn more about this book and other books written by Darius, or to listen to other episodes, visit our website today at dariusgood.com. Please like, share, and subscribe to our podcast show. And until the next time, be blessed.